Welcome to Meg Talks, the Move with Meg podcast. I'm Megan Kerrigan and I will be sharing ideas on how you can become a more consistent and confident dancer that understands your body and mind. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Meg Talks. It is episode 8 of our Mindset Matters series with Annabelle. So welcome back, Annabelle.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. We are talking a little bit today about, I suppose we've been going on and on and on and on, and I feel like everyone will be talking about the World Championships and the build up to the Worlds at the moment. So we wanted to take a little bit of time to talk to the dancers that aren't going to the Worlds for one reason or another, what they should be focusing on right now, and how they can use the World Championships happening as motivation, inspiration, something to look forward to, something to aim towards, all of those things. But also that it's not the be all and end all, and that you are still very important within our Irish dancing world. So we have made this episode for you in the crazy time that we're in. That is this little run up to the Worlds, which always pulls me off. Anyway.
World's and St. Patrick's Day, so I know dancers are quite busy at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So I suppose, St. Patrick's Day is it's not as close, I suppose, this year to the World Championships. I remember it was so close last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year was pretty much on top of it.
Yeah. So at least there's a little bit of a break where we can enjoy St. Patrick's Day and then also enjoy the lead up to the Worlds for the dancers that are doing both. But yeah, I suppose let's talk through some of the reasons why dancers might not be going to the World Championships or who this is actually for. So I suppose the first one is dancers that are not at that stage yet. So you might have just started, you might be in prelim, you might
still be in your grades.
Yeah, you might still be in your grades. You might, there's loads of different reasons why you might not be at that stage yet. You might have not qualified and have been aiming to. So you might be teetering on that border. Maybe you've actually qualified before and you didn't this year. So we'll touch upon maybe that feeling. You might be not old enough to qualify, maybe. So again, that might be that you're at a lower stage, but by the time you get to the qualification age, you might be there. So how to look at those perspectives. You might be injured and might be missing out on injury, which obviously is devastating, but we can hopefully help you reframe that today. And you might be missing out on going to the World Championships maybe because your teacher is adjudicating. Did that ever happen to you actually?
No, never happened to me, not for the Worlds, no. I've just thought of another one as well.
Oh.
People who are on a transfer ban.
Yes. Although lots of people do that at a time that means, I know some people can strategically organise that. But let's say you've moved house or your parents have moved
you can't help
country and you've ended up having to miss it. Yeah, 100%. So dancers that can't because of a ban. Yeah. So I suppose let's start from that sort of dancers that aren't at that level yet. I suppose some of them will know that the World Championships is going on. Others might not even know about it. Might not even be on their radar yet. So what is this time of year to dancers if we're not thinking about the World Championships? I suppose we're sort of in the thick of fesh season.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's quite a lot of local competitions on at the moment across the whole of the world because of the time of year that it is. So it's a really good time for you, if you're still in your grades or just started prelim maybe, to really make the most of the amount of competitions that are available to you at the moment, because there is time to the year when things are quieter. You've got summertime, January, and times like that where you don't have as many opportunities to be on stage. This time of the year, you've got lots of opportunities. So I think I'd definitely make the most of that.
Yeah, and actually thinking about that and hearing you talk there, I have dancers that I work weekly with in New Zealand, and they'd be like, well, we don't have any feshes because they are obviously they're in such a different season. They are literally just gone back to dance class, just gone back to school. This is their second full week back at school after their summer holidays. how weird does that feel?
I know.
Looking outside at the grey, and I'm like,
I know it's
"Oh,
absolutely freezing in the
if
UK.
only," you know, if only. But they are sort of in a different world where it's difficult because for them, they're in a sort of different time frame to the rest of us, but also in a different season almost.
Yeah,
Although
completely.
the major competitions still fall at the same time if you are in CLRG, um, and the dancers that I'm working with are, but yeah, sometimes that baffles me, like how different their season is in comparison to ours.
Yeah, it's like that school I worked with in South Africa.
Mm.
When I got talking to their teacher, he was saying they only do about 4 feshes a year, and one of them is the Worlds if they qualify
Yeah.
for it. Because of obviously where they're located, it's not
Yeah.
always as easy to get over, and it costs a lot of money
Yeah.
to come over and things like that. So yeah, that's important to remember. As much as there's lots of more going on in America, Canada, the UK, Ireland, probably Australia as well. There is some places where that's not always as easy or as feasible.
Yeah. So, bringing it back then to that, like, using feshes now, why do you think it would be of value to have sort of like lots of feshes sort of like together rather than going to a fesh and then in 2 months' time going to another? Do you think there's a benefit for that to the dancers that we're speaking to in this episode?
Yeah, 100%. I think at definitely the start of people's journeys as well, like stage time and fesh
Mm.
time is really valuable.
Yeah.
We spoke about this the other week, and I'm sure you'll probably link to the podcast from the other week about learning from every
Mm.
fesh you go to. When
Yeah.
you're at the start of your journey, there's a lot to learn. If you think
Mhm.
dancers that have been dancing for 10 to 15 years are still learning after every fesh, at the
Yeah.
start of your journey, you do as parents as well, still have a lot to learn. So the more you can immerse yourself in that experience. And I think stage time just helps dancers feel more confident. It gives them more chances to achieve their goals.
Yeah.
So your goal is to win from primary to intermediate. Obviously,
Mhm.
the more feshes you go to, the more chance you have to achieve that goal as well. And the more you get used to a fesh atmosphere and being on stage, the more that makes you feel comfortable as time goes on.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, um, linking it back again, we've got that, great resource that is the, Fast Tracker that we try to encourage dancers to use. So, not only just going to feshes, turning up and thinking about the placement, but thinking about, "Okay, I did this better, I did that better," and creating your own personal progress plan or progress tracker so that you can actually see, yeah, you might have come 10th this week and first last week, but actually you had a better fesh day yourself personally in your performance, in your mindset, in how you actually turned up and presented yourself. So having that fesh tracker, which I'll pop a link
For sure.
in the show notes, it's just a really useful tool, especially when you've got a lot back to back, because it's very easy to compare um, when you have done them in a bit more of a quick succession, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And good to look back on, like, toward the end of the year, like in months' time, to look back and see what you've learned as well as almost like another confidence boosting thing.
100%. In terms of dancers then that are at this stage, let's say they are in prelim or they're like just below or they're a beginner, but they also have dancers within their class that are going to the world championships. What would you be advising them to do?
If you are in dance class near the start or the middle of your journey and the dancers in dance class that are going to the World Championships, then that's a really amazing resource to
Mhm.
have. It's a really good source of inspiration, motivation, but also to learn from them.
Yeah.
What sets them apart maybe from other members of the class? What mindset do they turn up to dance class in? Like, how do they work? What makes them stand out? What gives them that edge? Do they kick their bum slightly more times than someone else? Like,
Yeah.
you have that direct, you don't have to just watch Fesh TV to see what these dancers do. You can see that 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And it's about learning from them and getting inspiration, because I'm sure there'll be lots of like um party classes before people go. People sometimes get cake or they'll get tops, like world championships and all that. Like, and imagining that one day that could be you up
Yeah.
there as well, that everyone's supporting. So go and support all the people in your class that are going to the Worlds, because one day it's going to be, it could be you up there, and all the little ones that are looking up at you, or the prelim dancers that are looking up at you, was want you.
Yeah.
and see, how you can basically learn from everyone.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to sort of like involve yourself in communities
Yeah,
and
massively.
so involving yourself fully into the community of your dancing school and feeling a part of it. If the World Championships is near you, try to get there for a day and
100%.
experience it and support, like you say. But like the other thing that when they're in your dance class and not on Fresh TV or on Instagram or wherever we look at these dancers, you can talk to them,
Yeah,
ask them, "Oh, what you doing? Why are you doing it like that?" Like, ask. The
yeah,
more you ask, the more you know, the more you learn, the better knowledge you have, the more you're gonna actually put that into place because you'll feel like you understand why. That's like at the root
exactly.
of everything we do, isn't it? Like that what, why, and how. If you know why you're doing something, you're so much more likely to do it. If I just
Yeah,
say, "Put this cup in the dishwasher," I don't know what the reason of the dishwasher is, then I'm probably just gonna leave the cup on the side. If I know that the dishwasher, the why is the dishwasher's going to clean it, which will mean I don't have to, I'm gonna quickly put the cup in the dishwasher.
yeah, I would too.
Do you know? You understand the reason why something is, um, being done or why a person's doing something some way or why you're being asked to do something in a certain way, you're way more likely to do it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
use these dancers, ask them.
And also, like, you might be able to go up to them and say, I'm really struggling with turnout at the moment. How can
Mm,
I get better at that? Is
yeah.
that something that might have been something they struggled with a few
Mhm.
years before that you might have not even started dancing by that point? You might not have seen that part of their journey. Just because they've got amazing turnout now doesn't mean maybe they always had it. They might have some fantastic advice to give to you to like
Yeah.
as to how to improve or what resources to use.
Yeah, and using that example, one person screamed to my mind, Mary Conway, in that look at her now, you'd look at her and think she always had insane turnout, but it was one of her key corrections and it was the turning point for her career. I'll link that episode below as well, because if you haven't listened to that, that's a great thing you can
Yeah,
be
it's a
doing
really good.
during this time when
Yeah,
others are heading off to the world and focus might be slightly shifted from your area within dance class. So use this time to learn in different ways
yeah.
uh, and sort of find your own new inspiration and your um, new motivations. What about then? This one's a real tough one. Dancers that might be injured and having to miss out.
Dancers that might be injured, yeah, it's a real tough one. It was me during the latter ages of my dance
Mhm.
career. We all know I picked up an injury or two,
Yeah.
or three or four. But yeah, I did actually have to miss my final worlds due
Mhm.
to injury. Didn't know it at the time because of COVID. We didn't know that was coming, but yeah, it was the final chance I had, and it was really, really hard. It
Mhm.
was really hard. Like there's no, you know,
Yeah, you
going
can't
around
just
to the edges.
say
Like it's difficult, and that's okay. Like it's not fun at the time, but also, it's not, like, the end of the world either. Like, did I survive? Absolutely.
yeah,
Like, and that week of the Worlds and the weeks leading up to it were quite difficult because you see everyone get excited
yeah,
and things like that, and, it's even more difficult if you're not at the point where, with your injury, you can dance at all at the
yeah.
moment. I was lucky enough that I was back dancing, but only by about a week, so I
Mhm.
wasn't world ready, but I could go and put my shoes on and do something. For some
Which
dancers
feels better,
it made
yeah.
me feel better, yeah. There is some dancers that won't be possible for them depending on where they are in their injury, but what I definitely recommend to them is definitely during Worlds Week, go and do something you can't do, that you don't
Normally.
normally have time to do because of Irish dancing,
Yeah.
because of all the time it takes up. So every Easter, pretty much, we always spend at the Worlds. It's
Mhm.
just quite a big deal for my family. All my family go out, and we will always send pictures of, and then me and my mum would be like at the Worlds, random like parts up and down the world. So I made a big deal that year of going and doing the family thing and
Yeah.
taking lots of pictures and being with my family because that was something I normally always missed out
So
on. So I definitely recommend filling your week with like, seeing your school friends you might not get to see a lot and
yeah,
doing like fun things like that that maybe you don't always get the opportunity to do just to keep you, focused and nice and busy on something that's good for you.
yeah.
And that makes you happy and excited rather than focusing on what everyone else is doing and going to the worlds.
And I think it's just also one of those that, like you said, it's okay to feel however you feel within that. Like everybody's going to experience this completely different. I was like lucky enough to not have that happen. Um,
Gosh, you were lucky.
so yeah, I was very lucky, touch wood. And it wasn't because I was doing all the things that I tell everyone to do now either, touch wood. Because if I knew this. I'd be a great advocate otherwise. I'd be like, "Never got an injury." That's a lie, but, like, never had an injury wipe me out anyway, touch wood. Um, so yeah, I think being kind to yourself and not beating yourself up, "If only I didn't do this," or "I shouldn't have done that," or "It's done now." Leave that. You are where you are. Have, like, your things that you go back to when you have those moments where you feel like, um down in the dumps about it. Watch your steps to make yourself feel a little bit better. Yes, it might be going out with a friend. Yes, it might be going to have a chat with mom. It might be going for a walk. It might be, doing something that you hadn't really got, like you say, got the time to do, but just making sure that you know the process that makes you feel a little better. Um, when you do feel a bit down in the dumps, because you probably will, and that's okay.
And that's absolutely fine. And I always say to dancers, like, we're not Olympians.
Hmm.
Like, even if you have to wait till next year's Worlds, it is 12 months. And I know right now that feels like a long time away, but it will actually go quite quickly because we know how quick the year goes from September to the end of qualifying season.
Hmm.
Absolutely flies. This year, will go by really quickly. You do only have to wait 12 months on like 4 years, like an Olympian. So although it feels like it's a long way off, it actually might be a bit closer than you maybe think.
Yeah,
And that's something to, keep you motivated maybe towards thinking towards the year ahead, like the next year or your next major when, is it going to be the Irish nationals that you're aiming to be back for?
yeah.
Like, and focusing on that instead rather than the worlds.
And another thing you can be doing, and it kind of takes us away from the point of like the reason why we're talking about that injury section is because we're talking about that injury pulling you back from doing the worlds. But you can be doing so many different things. Like
100%.
the amount of dancers I've continued training on a weekly basis with when they're in a boot
You've
or
got one at the moment.
yeah, more than one at the moment. There's always at least one. And the thing is, if you stop and you wallow and you don't look forwards, yes, there's a time for that. Stop, have your time to feel a little bit like fed up about it. Have a little bit of time to wallow, but then make a plan. Okay, my next plan is I'm going to focus on uh fixing my turnout because I can be doing that. I can work on my hip mobility. Let's say you've injured your hip, maybe you're going to start focusing on working on your posture and getting that better. There's always something that you can be perfecting. And if imagine we had the, and I always say injury is an opportunity, and it sounds annoying. Like, yeah, okay, that's easy to say. You're
That's a
not what
great
it
little phrase.
is.
I love that.
But injury is an opportunity to really focus on something you would never have time to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like I say, the dancers in a boot that have always had a problem with their posture, it gives us 6 weeks to get into the nitty gritty of their posture, which we don't normally get time to do because they're tight in their hamstrings. We have to focus on that. They're tight in something else. We have to focus on that. It gives you the opportunity to just really blink us on and get fully into one thing and choose to fix that in the time.
Yeah. Like, you can actually come back from injuries stronger in some of your weaknesses than you went in the first place.
100%.
Yeah, and that's, definitely a really good point as well. If you are at the point of your dance career where I was, where you can put your shoes on, like, I just continued to practice that week how I practiced any other week. Didn't change anything at all, other than doing a few more fun things.
Mhm.
But if you can put your shoes on, go ahead.
Mhm.
Like, do it and do what Meg's saying. If you can't put your shoes on yet, then just really hone in on one area that's a bit of a weakness or a bit of something we find difficult. And let's use this time where we haven't got dance class.
Yeah.
And I know the UK dancers probably won't have school because of the time of year it is. You
Yeah.
might not have school as well. You might, you'll definitely have more time at least, even if you are in school, to be able to dedicate it to um, something that you need to work on.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose a lot of that also comes into line with the next sort of section of dancers, which is like can't dance because they're on a ban or can't dance because their teachers are judging. Like, I suppose it kind of all comes into like use the opportunity to get into the nitty gritty of something,
Yeah.
maybe. Um, maybe it's that you swap in dances earlier than other people, so you've actually an advantage for the next season.
Yeah.
Uh,
And even
but
if you haven't got your dancers, yes, I say this all the time. Like, if you're going from jig to hornpipe, let's start practicing some common hornpipe rhythms your teacher uses a lot.
yeah,
Or let's start practicing, let's start going from slip jig to reels, always a shock to the system. Like,
like,
so
whoa, can't go that
yeah,
fast.
Why am I going so quickly? It's like, oh, so let's put real music on. Let's do drills to that. You might not have your choreography yet, but it doesn't mean you can't be working towards your new dances.
Yeah, and I think in those instances as well, like let's say a ban or teachers judging, or don't let yourself drop off. And I feel like this sort of applies to myself, and I'm giving myself a pep talk here because I don't have any more high rocks booked in now for this season, and normally I've got another couple. I'm not going to the World Championships because number one, I haven't qualified yet, and it's getting harder. But if it's in Chicago, so I'm not planning to go. So I'm not trying to qualify. So I'm not doing any more this year. That now I could just say, right, well, I'm not going to go to higher ups class on a Monday anymore. I'll just wait until I've got one booked in. But no, what I'm actually going to do is really focus on my weakness, which is my running. Ugh, I don't know why I said that out loud, but like I have chosen to focus on that, to focus on getting better at that, so that when I do go to my next high rocks, I'm better than I've ever been. That's not because I stopped but it's because I was consistent. I had time to be more specific with my training, because I'm not feshing every weekend or competing every weekend. So, I suppose it's the same as that. It's like, don't let the ban or your teachers judging or the fact that you didn't qualify this year knock you off that tough, hard training.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Consistency really is key.
Yeah. Set your sights on whatever your next big thing is.
Yeah. And work towards that.
Work towards that as well.
I think, what about touching, before we sort of wrap it up, because I feel like we've touched upon most of the dancers that this was specifically for. What about those dancers that are old enough to be scrolling through social media when the World Championships is on? What can they do mindset-wise to make sure that they stay in the inspired, motivated, excited phase rather than coming through the "I'll never get to that," the comparison, the lack of self-belief, and
Yeah.
seeing it as negative rather
Yeah,
than using it as that positive?
it's always horrible. Look at all my friends together and I'm sat at
Mm.
home. That can be a tough one if lots of people in your age group have
Yeah.
all qualified and maybe you haven't and things like that. So it's about, and this will be different for every dancer because not every dancer is the same, especially on social media.
Yeah.
But understanding what's right for you. We've said it before about social media and Fesh TV. For some dancers, an amazing resource, big,
Mhm.
massive source of like inspiration and, an ability to learn from other dancers. Dancers we might not be able to see because they don't live by us.
Mhm.
And a massive source of inspiration for other people. It's not so great because they'll just compare. So it's about being aware of maybe what side of the camp you fall on, or maybe where your tipping point might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But also, social media doesn't just have to be watching people dance at the world.
Uh-huh.
You can be on our social media, finding out what your Meg moves is.
Yeah.
Prove your new thing. You can be looking, listening to some of our podcasts. I always go back to the Olivia Graydon one, which
Yeah.
again does talk about not qualifying and
Mhm.
qualifying for Worlds as well, does touch upon that.
I'll
Which
pop that link below as well. Yeah.
um,
It's a really inspiring one. Everyone always comes back to that one. I
yeah,
think
I always come back to Olivia's, especially when
she's
she does.
excited and energized anyway, isn't she, Liv?
Yeah, and especially when she does talk about, her journey of
Uh-huh.
getting herself to the world as well. It wasn't smooth sailing.
Yeah.
And so it's a really, really good, inspiring podcast as well. Like, use your time on your phone
Mhm.
to in a positive way.
Yeah.
Use it to, find out what is it that works for you and what doesn't work for you, and be very mindful as to, am I actually using this in the right way? And it's about being
Mhm.
honest with yourself probably as well. To
Yeah.
be like, right, have I sat and scrolled on TikTok too long on the things
Mhm.
that don't make me feel great?
Yeah.
Or have I spent time? I used to spend hours upon end, it's so sad, like watching Parade of Champions on YouTube. But it used to be something that really motivated me because I'd watch these champions and be like, I see the way she jumps there. She doesn't jump the way I jump. She jumps much sharper. What is it that make, and doing it that way, or just being like, one day I'm going to be on a Parade of Champions on YouTube,
Yeah.
like
Love that.
using it, finding whatever your thing is that's going to inspire you.
Yeah.
And also, as you said before, Meg, like if you can, actually get yourself there. I
Yeah.
do think being in the atmosphere is really inspiring for
Yeah.
lots of dancers. I know dancers who've come to support siblings when they haven't qualified
Mhm.
themselves, and just being amongst the atmosphere has just been like, oh my goodness, like I love this and I want to do this for myself. And they've come back and worked harder than ever.
Yes, because it's giving you a bit of that fuel. And like we say, everybody is different. And that's the hard thing. It's just another thing for parents to also look out for, I would say, is like
Just be aware of,
that
yeah.
tick on social media. Okay, is this a positive? Do I need to be a bit more in the room when they are on social media just to make sure that what's going on here is positive for
Yeah.
them? And obviously, we
Limit your
can't.
time.
Yeah,
And get out and, as I said before, do the things you can't do while you're normally at dance class.
yeah, and
Um,
encouraging that.
yeah, and definitely encouraging that. I always once, if I couldn't dance for whatever reason, would always try and fill whatever I have anticipated the toughest day being with something fun, whether it was just going to the cinema.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
it, isn't it? It's a good distraction, and it doesn't mean that you're not gonna think about it or you're not gonna be aware of it, but it is a nice distraction, and it's something, like you say, that we don't often get the chance as Irish dancers to have this gap.
yes, we're
Um,
very busy people.
yeah, where somebody isn't wanting us at class or at school or something like that, so it's a good time to take that
And
opportunity.
remember that, like, lots and lots of dancers have been in your situation.
Yeah.
Like, even the dancers that are, in the recall this year
On the
might not have
podium.
qualified other years that on the podium. Again, Olivia, another prime example.
Yeah, and
Like,
Mary.
Anne Mary and Annalise Carter as well.
Yeah, lots of.
Another
Yeah.
actually, that's another good one as well, Annalise Carter's podcast.
Mhm.
Because she didn't qualify until she was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, so the people that you might don't just assume that, like, because people are on the podium or people recall or people have world medals, that they've not felt the way you have. Probably most of them
Have at
absolutely
some
have.
point. Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's the majority who are minority, sorry, who haven't.
yeah. 100%.
Everyone's been there, and it's about how you use this time to look
Yeah,
forward and make you better and make you more resilient too. And unfortunately,
100%.
there's no easy way to gain resilience. We have to go through hard times and keep going. And although it's hard at the time, looking forward into the future is going to be so beneficial.
100%. And I always say the hardest and most difficult things that I've ever done have been the things that I've got through have been the things that I look back and think, oh, I'm really glad that happened, or um, I'm really grateful for that. And in the time, you're thinking, leave me alone. People are like, oh, you just wait. This will be the making of you. You're just thinking, shut up, leave me alone, let me wallow, let me cry. But actually, yeah, as annoying as they are usually right, those
Yeah, they
people.
are, to be fair.
Um, so yeah, don't hate on them. But sometimes you just want to go, just leave me. Don't tell me that right now. That's what I need
I
to hear.
apologize if anyone is shouting at their phone now after I've just pretty much said that. But I have been there too.
Yeah, yeah,
I've not qualified for my own mindset because I freaked myself out on the day and didn't dance well. I've
yeah.
not qualified because I've been injured. I've
Mhm.
not qualified because it was over in America and we couldn't afford to go over there. I mean,
Yeah,
I've not danced there.
yeah.
I've not qualified because I was in Lord of the Dance when the qualifying was on.
Uh,
They came back, the Wales was on and hadn't qualified, and I was like, "Oh," like, there's been loads of reasons as well,
yeah.
but it doesn't mean that, like, you're any better or worse of a dancer. It doesn't mean anything about you personally. It
And
just means on
essentially,
this one day, you won't be in that location.
yeah. And essentially, we all love to dance. Like, it doesn't take away that you're a part of this community. Like, the
No.
reason we dance is because we love it. It's not to go to the World Championships, as much as that can sometimes take over. It's really important to bring it back to, okay, why did I start dancing? Why do I keep going dancing? Actually, in the end, is it because of the World Championships? No, it's because of your friends. It's because you love dancing. It's because of the way it makes you feel. It's because of the freedom it gives you. It's because it keeps you fit. It's because of so many things, not just the World Championships. So, for those dancers that might be feeling a little bit left out or a little bit,
You're not left out with us.
yeah, you're in
Absolutely
the
not.
club because you love to dance, and that's what the club is about.
That's enough admission for
That
us. We just need you to love to dance,
yeah,
and you're in.
you're in. You're in. Sit. Um, anyway, we will tie it up there. I feel like we've just rambled on at you guys, but hopefully I feel like we've given we've made you feel heard. We've made you feel important right now at this sort of crazy, busy, world-filled time. And of course, always reach out. Always ask us
Always.
questions. If you're feeling any certain type of ways, we are here. We've probably been through it. And if we haven't, we can guide you towards somebody that has, that can chat to you about it. Um, And yeah, use us. That's what we're here for. We're here to support everybody. We're here for all levels and stages of dancing, not just the dancers that are going to the World Championships. You dancers in grades, prelim, other organisations, all of this, like our community, our space is for dancers that love to dance. So if you're in that, you're in our clique. You're in. Thank you for listening. I have popped a few of those links in the show notes. So if anything we mentioned you fancy taking another listen to, then go down, find one of those. Mary Conway, Olivia Graydon and Annalise Carter all linked down there, of course. And the Fesh Tracker also. Yep. And the episode about how to use local feshes, as there is a lot of them going on right now. Thank you all for joining. We will be back with another episode very soon. Have a lovely one, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Meg Talks. Don't forget to share your favourite parts of the episode and tag us on Instagram at movewithmeg with 2 Gs. And as a special treat, head to movewithmeg.co.uk/Fesh Day Warmup to access your free video. See you next time.